What's up, guys? You know what morning it is. Saturday morning cards and cold brew. Check that out. Have a brad ass day. I had this lady on Instagram make that for me a couple years ago. And you can tell it's morning here because my voice is super dry. So I'm sure you hear that. But I haven't done a solo episode. I haven't done a cards and cake in some time. I've been doing the stream with Dustin and haven't had an opportunity just to hop on here and show you guys a couple of the cards I'm looking at and just discuss life and cards and everything else. Good to see you guys in the comment section. Mike C's always number one. There's David. Thanks so much for your input on the weekly newsletter. Mazlosopher, it's funny that you mentioned start with a dating site story because I think like dating and relationships are always so exciting to hear about that it could always like blend into any topic. But I got a busy Sunday. I'll tell you that much. I got a busy Sunday ahead of me. Good to see Michael Ham as well. Go Bucks. And before I show you the cards, I have about 20 cards I've just pulled up on Market Movers that are not going, like they might be going down a bit, but there are a lot of cards that are plateauing and some that are even going up now. So I'm getting curious as to see if this is the time to go in on those cards specifically, if those interest you. So I'm going to go through those, rattle them off, then meet you back here in the comment section. But before I do, one sip of coffee. And welcome back. Now let's get to work. All right. What's up, Sharp and Centered? Flyer Fan 28. Good to see you guys. It's so cool that y'all are still joining me on a Saturday morning now that businesses are open and things are going on. So let me share my screen here. Make sure I do that because I definitely don't want to mess that up. All right. So what I'm going to show you first is just a couple of cards that just things that I'm seeing. And I'll meet you back here in just a couple minutes. So I'll be able to see your comments. Let's start with football. And the one thing with football, when I look at what has dropped the last 60 days, is that there are only a handful of cards that have dropped more than 50%. So you see the Herbert, that's it. 2 cards under the last 60 days that have dropped more than 50%. Now, I notice this because if I look at basketball, there's a lot of cards that have dropped way more than 50%. So at least I like to see, all right, well, maybe next week when I look at football, maybe there'll only be one card, or maybe there won't be any cards that have dropped more than 50%. So when I go sport by sport, that's what I like to look at. All right, the big football card, if you're looking at football, is Patrick Mahomes' rookie card, and this is a PSA 9 because the PSA 10 is really expensive. And now we're looking at the last couple sales, 1,800 second sale ago, and then 1,900. But this one has really cooled off. And, you know, there's 2,000 of this card in the PSA 9. And, you know, the good thing with it is that it's a silver by default. So you don't have to have this ugly base card. It's a base, but that year silver was the base. So at least it's a better looking card. It is Patrick Mahomes. And honestly, as we get closer to the season, I don't know how much lower this is going to go because this is the number one target to invest in. And, you know, maybe Tom Brady, but besides that, Mahomes is that guy. So that's something that really stuck out to me. Next one, Kyler Murray, and you know, his cards have gone down, but then the last couple sales have gone up. So select PSA 10 went all the way down to 152 just 9 days ago, and then the last couple sales 177 and 190. So just interesting to see there. I'm going to go a bit quicker. Deion Sanders, it's an old one. It's a classic. But if you take a look at the last couple sales, 142 for this Deion, and we're hovering around September numbers. September. So again, Deion, there's only 1,800 of those in a PSA 10. Just some cards that really, when I look at the graph, I really like. Okay, and then I pulled this one up because this is a Justin Herbert optic base PSA 10. But if you look at the pop, it's only 227. So even though this is pretty flat right now, I can't even go in on this card because it's just too. Like there's too many that are going to be submitted to PSA or are currently there for me to even feel remotely comfortable about paying even $250. And that doesn't include if he has a down year. So last sale's $335, but I can't even look at this card. All right, let me say hi to some of you guys. Love Mahomes, but would be a stash and hold. Gonna crush record books with 17 games. Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see the. Oh shit! Let me stop sharing. That looks weird. Okay, it'll be interesting to see the running backs and the wide receivers as well. And maybe there'll be a sack leader. Maybe there'll be someone that has 22 sacks or something in the league just because they got that extra game. And then you're going to have to add these asterisks to all the records if they're broken during the first, well, I guess during any season with 17 games. But but I'm a fan. Obviously, like with football, I'm a fan of seeing more football because it feels like that season is so short, and yet basketball and baseball seem to go on forever. Let's see. Going to be interesting to see how football goes in late July, entering August when preseason starts. I agree. It will be interesting to see, but I can't wait. What's up, William? Good to see you on this beautiful Saturday morning. You know what's interesting about Cristiano Ronaldo is that, yeah, for one, he's a legend, but I saw him on a post on Instagram where he was going up to this news conference and there were 2 Coke bottles. So if you look up, I think it's plant-based news on Instagram, but there's got to be that video has got to be everywhere. He's going up, sitting at a press conference, and there are 2 Coke bottles sitting on the table as the sponsors, because that's how it works. And he literally moves the Coke bottles out of frame and holds up his bottle of water, and he says, "Drink water." And I thought that was so admirable. I mean, he may have gotten fined by FIFA or whatever because that's a sponsor and you're not supposed to do that. But I thought that was so admirable because you have so many athletes, and I know LeBron is one who peddles sugar water to kids, right? Or to everyone, but usually it's kids that look up to athletes. So when I saw Cristiano Ronaldo do that, I was like, all right, I'm a bigger fan of you right now. I don't know about that card. It sounds amazing, though. It sounds amazing. I don't have the money to buy all the cards I want, so my PC collection right now is like super low. It's like the cheap cards. Okay, before I go on, let me show you guys some basketball. And this is where it gets interesting. Okay, so here is basketball. Now take a look at what's dropped the last 60 days. 70%, 71, 71, 70, 68, 67, 66, 65, 60. So you have a lot of cards way over 50%, and not all of them are current players. So there are a lot of legends that have dropped. And I think that's because, and maybe this isn't accurate, but it sounds like feels to me that there are way more flippers in NBA than in the other sports. Like they gravitate towards that. But this is all 50. So if there are 100 results on this one page, there's literally maybe 80 of which have dropped more than 50% over the last 60 days. So here's some of the cards. And this is what, look, that is as flat as it gets. So it could go lower, it could get higher, but this is a 1981 Magic Johnson Topps in PSA 9, and it's only 805 pop. But when I see that chart, I go, all right, well, Magic Johnson is definitely not a hot flipper card, right? But you have every sale from the 23rd of May until now has been, let's see, 1700, 1875 down to 1777. So about within $100. Now, I don't know what's going to happen from there, but if this card interests you, then at least you have a good idea as to what appears to be the floor. And there's also this Larry Bird one here where went through the roof, has come back down, but then you see after $1,000, it's gone back up in the last couple of sales, $1,400, $1,350. So maybe what a lot of people are doing is they're taking advantage of the low prices, but instead of going in on a lot of cards for next season or whatever active players or 90s players, they're going after the older stuff. Because this 81 Larry Bird, there's only a pop of 1,051 in PSA 9. So again, like some cards are starting to rebound up, but it might just be those rarer older cards, the vintage stuff. Okay, Dwayne Wade. The last sale, if that's legit, that went down to 262 for a PSA 9, that's like the same price as, let's see, 262 January, February, March, April, May, June of last year. And for Dwayne Wade, I mean, to me, that's like, all right, you've got to be getting close to your bottom. And I wouldn't be surprised if the sale after that goes back up. Karl Malone, look at that. I mean, all right. So the story I wanted to share with this, or the lesson, is that if you are buying this card and you can't see an actual visual chart, you're not using Card Ladder or Market Movers or something else, and you don't see this, and you're just going on eBay and saying, what is the last price, the last sale of this card? Because then I will base my entire purchasing decision off of that. Well, if someone paid $1,111 for that card, and the next person paid $2,749. Now, if you're this person right here who paid $2,400, all you are seeing on eBay is the person who paid $2,749. You're not seeing the person before who paid $1,100. So when you look at a chart like this, it's very easy to say, all right, no way do I want to buy here. I want to sell there. I want to be buying all the way down here. But if you're only looking at the last sale on eBay with eBay's numbers, you might be right here thinking, all right, it's $2,407 was the last sale. I got a deal at $2,375, not understanding that 3 sales ago, it was $860. But regardless, Karl Malone, not the sexiest player, not relevant in today's world, but $452 for his PSA 9, I thought it's pretty good. All right, Damian Lillard, great player. I hope he changes teams. I hope he gets traded. I hope something happens. But last PSA 10, 753, and there's only 883 in a PSA 10. I can't imagine that number is going to go up very much this late in his career. But that's, I mean, and here's the other thing I wanted to mention, and I'll come back to the comment section in a second, is that some people are like, well, maybe it will. In fact, I'll do it right now. I want to come back right now. Okay, so some people go, it's okay, it'll drop more, right? It'll drop more. Some players, we don't have the season going on until next, November, December, something like that, so it'll drop more. However, a lot of the football cards I've been buying, the best deals I got was in January, right after the season ended. So the Dak Prescott cards I got, the PSA 10s, the PSA 9s, the BGS 95s for his Prism Silver, the best deals were right then and there that I picked up. It had not dropped more than that in the last couple of months. Same thing with Klay Thompson. When I got his PSA 10s, I got right after his injury. I got those at like 600. The Kyler Murray PSA 10 Prisms, I got those for $360 to $400 each. And now the lowest I've seen it is about $430, $440. So, to buy something very early, the downside is that you can't roll your money over several times. So that's true. However, I can't assume that the cards are going to go down more than they are now, just because some people are willing to wait 6 months or a year or whatever else for these players, just like I was. So that's where even the Lillard, and I'll show you right now, and I'll come back to the comment section in a second and catch up with y'all. So there's the Lillard. Share. Can I share? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Is my internet going out? Uh-oh. 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 It says, I don't know if you guys can hear me. It says StreamYard, Google, Chrome not responding. That's not a good sign when it says it's not responding. All right, now let's see if you guys can hear me. How's this? There we go. All right. I think we're good. Now I'm going to try and share my screen again. Let me make sure my actual, my mic is connected, camera's good. I'm going to share the screen again. Hopefully it doesn't screw up, but I don't know what to think now that Dustin's in here. He might just be sharing his horrible internet connection, energetically. All right. So at least that's going for now. All right. Oh no, don't tell me every single one has got to start over. I had all these tabs open up here. You see all these tabs, and now I have to start all over. All right, well, I will show you this. I will show you Anthony Davis, And I'm not going to go through all the rest now that my computer crapped out. But the point I was going to make was that you can wait longer, but that's not necessarily the best bet, just because for football season, the best deals I got was earlier. And going back, if I can go back, I would have done the same thing. I would have actually bought more earlier and just held and waited. And I know Anthony Davis, injury issues and whatever, but you know what? He won a ring. He's still with LeBron. A lot's going to happen. And his last sale was at $720. So 720, we're talking about what, March of last year numbers. March of last year, not the buildup, not August, not December, January. I mean, so anyway, that's something I'll show you guys. But yeah, I had a lot more pulled up, and now I don't know what's going to happen with all of them. Yeah, well, winging it is Dustin's forte, because actually doing any background prep is not his thing at all. All right, I heard about it. So yeah, this is a good topic. So I heard that there was a Jordan PSA 10 that was through PWCC that sold for 180, but then there were bidding problems. And you know, it's like, well, maybe it's legit. However, maybe they wanted to cancel the sale and try to do all these things so that they're not selling their card that low, or doesn't look like that was a legitimate sale, because it would look horrible if it actually was legitimately selling for 180. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. If it is a legitimate concern and things were not going through okay, I think that's good that they want to make it legit. I just wonder if there's something else at play that we don't know about. Okay, well, I mean, if it's, yeah, that's the thing. I've never heard of bidding problems either. However, if it's at this crazy high number, if it's at 180, 200,000, and they've got to be very aware of the fact that there's scams, maybe there's like fraud and some sort of ways to manipulate the system and get people's information, bank account, whatever, then maybe it actually is, maybe it was a problem, because now eBay's got to be one of those places where everyone goes to try and scam, just because they know that a lot of money's being at play, or like, you know, a lot of money's at play, and their system is not keeping up with the elevated prices of cards and other things. I mean, that's bold right there. A 10 dropping below 50K. I don't know about that. I hope not. Borrow cards. I mean, I think borrow is a. It just depends how low his cards go, honestly, because Joe Burrow does not have an offensive line, even though he has other weapons, and he's been injured for the last year. So maybe he has a sophomore slump even after coming back. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe the wide receivers are great, but the offensive line just sucks and he gets beat up again. I just, you know, the good thing about Joe Burrow right now is that he's not the number one hyped guy, because you have Trevor Lawrence, you have the rookies now, you have Justin Herbert, you have Tua and the Dolphins. So there's a lot of other places to put your money. But last season, Joe Burrow was such a hot target that it didn't make sense. It didn't make sense because the upside was a lot less likely than the downside. But based on, like, maybe Joe Burrow is the better answer when the rookie cards of this year's class comes out. Maybe that's like a good play when a lot of money is going to Trevor Lawrence instead. Yeah. Oh, he's like Winter Soldier, or like one of those like, we're Terminator. Here's the thing. I think some people think that it's going to go back to where it was in 2018, 2019. And I never see it going back to that point, because more people know about cards now. So there's an awareness, but there's also the platforms, there's also the media, there's also ways to communicate and all these other things that I don't see will ever bring it back to that point. Anything below March 2020 numbers, because even March 2020 is when I got in. That's only when people were hearing about it, but it was so underdeveloped. So I would say that would be the lowest for the market, but not including, like if a player was hot in March 2020 and then their career fizzles out, obviously their card will go down. But I can't see the global appeal ever being less than how hot the market was, maybe even August 2020, to be honest. Yeah. I have no idea. However, I will sell those all day long. Lamar Jackson, I bought Lamar. I thought Lamar and the Ravens were going to get another wide receiver to help him out, and they really haven't done that. Not a big receiver. I don't know if they got anyone, but not a big receiver. And then, to me, I'm like, look, he's a running quarterback. He's not the biggest dude. He could easily get injured, but maybe he'll have a great run. My goal is always sell when the profit is good enough, and that's why I'll buy really early. So if I buy really early, it gives me more time for the profit to hit a certain point or the price to hit a certain point where I'll sell. And that means if it does hit a point I like before the season, I absolutely will, because every day in the season it gets riskier and riskier, because though he may go on a great winning streak or throw a Hail Mary and win the game and get a lot of buzz, there's also a good chance that he'll get injured, or maybe he just is mediocre. Yeah, there we go. Seriously, man, I can't believe the Jazz lost. I watched both games yesterday. I can't believe that the Clippers won without Kawhi Leonard again. I mean, that's pretty crazy right there. Yeah, I mean, in relation to the others, yeah, that makes sense. But Jordan's brand, who Jordan is, the shoes, the legacy. I remember even as a kid listening to that "I Want to Be Like Mike" song. Like Michael Jordan was bigger than life. He was like if Ronaldo or Messi or one of those guys was huge here in the US, like just as big here in the US, but probably even bigger than that. So even though his numbers could be way higher, his legacy is way bigger than Wayne Gretzky, because there are people that don't even know who Wayne Gretzky is just because he's hockey. Or Honus Wagner. Honus Wagner, I think you have to be into baseball cards specifically to know who he is. You could be into baseball present day and not even know who he is. I have not seen the new ones. What's up, George? Good to see you. Top 3 cards that will move at the National. I think that's a really good question. Look, based on the Dallas show and what was selling there, I would imagine, which is mostly basketball, I would imagine this is going to be very heavy football, because it's going to be like the NBA playoffs will have just ended. I believe it ends end of July. So let's say a week later, we have the National. Devin Booker, do people care a week after? I don't think so. I think that's where it's going to be the 90s. Maybe it's the Jordans, maybe it's the Kobes, maybe it's the older stuff, the Magic, the Bird. But I could see football, the Tom Brady's, the Patrick Mahomes, and I think a lot of the Herberts. I think Dustin mentioned he saw a lot of Justin Herbert. So the Herberts, the Tuas, the Burrows, I think that's what's going to be flying at the National, to be honest. Okay, perfect. Yeah, finals are then. So it's literally a week or two later. And I don't know what vendor would try to sell basketball cards at the National and expect a decent profit, because as low as it's gotten over the last few months, it's not going to pick up unless maybe it's Olympic related, maybe it's Space Jam related, maybe they announced Kobe's documentaries coming out. But besides that, or free agency. I don't know when free agency begins. I don't know if that's the day after the finals or if it's like a week or two later or a couple weeks later. I'd have to look that up, to be honest. NBA team, I'm going to go with Um, let's see. Clippers are looking good now. And who else is there? I mean, I'm blanking on everything except for the Clippers. I think because that game was just in my mind. Sixers, I'm not. I don't see the Hawks being good enough. I would go with the Clippers based on how good the other players, the complementary players, are playing. So that if they can keep that up, they're going to be unstoppable when Kawhi Leonard's back. Here's the thing, man. I can't do vintage. It's just not. It's not fun. It's not fun for me. Vintage, it needs to be 91 or newer, pretty much, because 91 was the first year I can actually remember being alive. So I'm 5 years old, and that's when I'm starting to look at sports on TV and then get into cards. So for me, it needs to be vintage needs to be Kobe and Jordan. But really, Jordan, Shaq, Kobe, that's pretty much it. Well, if you threw 5 interceptions in practice, then I'm glad I have my Jacoby Brissett rookie cards, because maybe he'll end up being the starter after all. Let me check this out. Dealers are buying and selling so quickly, there's a good chance they bought a lot of basketball low and will sell a lot low. Okay, yeah, that is true. I think that's the other thing as well, is these dealers that go to a lot of the shows, they are in and out very quickly. And that's not something I really want to do, because that takes up time. That means going to all the card shows. That means going to the post office a lot and dealing with a lot of Instagram stuff. So I understand if you're buying low and you're selling at a 20% profit or stuff like that, it makes sense. I just don't want to get to the point where I'm buying, like I'm doing the merchant side, the buy, sell, flip, trade every single weekend. I like more of a every couple months offload, see what's going on. I want this to be as remote as possible too, because I'm thinking to myself, what if I want to go to Mexico City? And if you haven't been to Mexico City, there's some beautiful places in Mexico City, but I want to go to Mexico City and just like buy online and have it sent to my PO box. And then 4 months later, I stop by and I sell it all and make it very remote as well. So that's more of my dream. Suns and Bucks. Yeah, actually the Bucks I didn't think about, but they've looked good as well. Dude, look, we've talked about injuries. We've seen a lot of injuries. The one thing I'm noticing too is there's a lot of people that can't hit free throws in this NBA playoffs. And I've never seen that before, but it feels like Luka and Giannis, and who are the others? There's like 5 players that have worse free throw percentages just now in the playoffs than Shaq and Dwight Howard did when I was watching them play for the Magic. And I've not noticed that at all. First card that got you into collecting. I mean, my most memorable card was the 96 Topps Kobe card, where I found that in the dollar bin when I was like 11 years old. Okay, so here's an example. They bought, yeah, but I think that's also a unique situation where $2,000 profit very quickly is pretty good. So for a lot of these cards, I mean, I think a lot of people are bought at 15 and they're thinking of selling at 13 because that's just the situation. And maybe they're willing to sell at 15 for LeBron, knowing that maybe the summer's not going to be very good to him. But I do think that the dealers that go to all these shows, they move so much so quickly that it's not about huge profit margins. It is like, all right, $50 here, 300 here, 400 here, take a loss, take a $200 loss here, but that's okay. It's a lot of volume, but that's not the majority of us. Yeah, Ben, oh my God, like how in the world can anyone besides a massive center be so bad at free throws? Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. Yeah, dude, here's the thing, man. I will be buying for next NBA season in the coming weeks. Probably once I get rid of all my football, I'll look into basketball. I just don't mind being super early because I know that the majority of the flippers out there, like I think when you look at the NBA market, you go, all right, there's a lot of the flippers, the Gary V, and I got back in from hearing about it from Gary Vee, but I don't have the same mindset as a lot of people that follow Gary Vee, where they flock to something, they're excited, but they're not really diving into the research. They're not taking their time. They're just kind of like overly excited. And I think those are the people that get in on cards too late. They don't do enough research. They don't weigh the downside. They get caught up in the fun and the frenzy of it. And I know that that's who I want to be in the hobby, because that's who's going to buy my cards. I'm not going to be selling to someone that's smarter than me. I'm going to be selling to someone that's less patient, less researched, more emotional, less logical, and they're just trying to do it at the last second, and a higher risk tolerance than I am. So that's why I would rather buy very early. And when those flippers or when those people are thinking about going in and stocking up, I will sell to them. And someone else, I want to bring this up because this is a good point. I forgot who mentioned it, but it was during a conversation I had actually with a friend of mine. I think of a friend of mine here in LA, where he said, you know what, in the 1800s, during the gold rush, when everyone was moving to California to find gold, most people came over with these giant dreams of finding all this gold. And what ended up happening was that they didn't make a dime. Most of them failed miserably. But the businesses that opened to serve these pioneers and serve these people that were coming over to pan for gold, the bars and the saloons and whatever, the barber shops and whatever, the equipment rentals and whatever else, the contractors, they all made a lot of money because they were catering to the people that were getting in gambling. So in a sense, I want to stock up and be the business person that is catering to the flippers and everyone else that will be gambling closer to the start of the season. All right. Sitting here like, please shoot me the free throw. Okay. Yeah, that is weird, where 3-pointers are insane and yet people can't hit free throws. It's really interesting. I don't think any market will crash for good, but when you think of people going crazy for what, IndyCar or NASCAR or one of these things, it's like y'all weren't interested in it. You don't even know who the drivers are. When the Tiger Woods cards exploded, it's like there's a base of people that actually like golf and golf cards, and that's it. But it just goes through the roof because the wrong people are getting in. And if you want to get into flip, and like that's what I'm doing too, it's fine. But if you're not realizing that the majority of people are in on a card or in on a sport for that reason, then it's really dangerous. And that's where I saw way more buzz and attention around basketball, even when I got in, than football and hockey. And that's what made me feel a bit more confident in the football market, because I was like, well, I'm still finding really good deals based on my own logic on football, while in basketball, everything's just doubling and tripling every single week. So I don't think anything will crash for good, because there's interest in every sport. There's interest in cards. There's growth internationally. But the corrections, yeah, that's going to happen a lot. Buy, sell, or hold. I mean, here's the thing. It's dependent on the card. It's dependent on, I think he could have a solid year, but his cards are too new for me to even feel confident about, because I don't want to hold a card that there's going to be 10 times of from PSA in a couple months. Anything, pretty much I'm at the point where anything that I can sell at a profit, I will do so, because when we look at these charts and you see there's these incredibly high highs and low lows, I'm okay with just saying, all right, I made some profit. I don't know when it'll go higher, but that's okay. I'll just focus on buying at the low. If I buy at the low, I could sell at just above the low and I'll be okay. I don't know my next show. I think there is one in Vegas coming up July 3rd, and I might be going to that one. I might make the drive over there, but I haven't gone to the local shows here in LA in a while. And that's because I'm still waiting for my football cards to go up in price. Like even with everything that has gone down in price, I'm pretty much still ahead, because a lot of stuff I bought in January, and that was when it was really low. And there were some cards that I don't know, in fact, if I have any football cards that have lost value, except for Deshaun Watson. Yeah, so I didn't buy him at the super low, but I'm really hoping he does get traded to Denver and doesn't have a court hearing for another year. But let's say the Vegas show. There's an area called Condenser that I stayed at for 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks in Mexico City. And this is the one neighborhood that if you ever go to Mexico City, just stay in Condenser. It's built on an old horse track. So it's actually like a 1/4 mile walk along this beautiful park with all these beautiful cafes and coffee shops and retail businesses around it, but not in a pretentious Beverly Hills way, more in like a very rustic, Spanish charming way. And I mean, and the women were gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah. Seriously, man. It's embarrassing. What are you talking about? No way, Jason. What's up, Joel? Good to see you. Wow. That's awesome. Let's see. What do you think about Latent Sports changing viewers to chat? And I have not even heard about that. Latent Sports cards charging viewers to chat. Yeah, I've not heard about that at all. I don't know if that's referring to what's it called? The super chat, where you can throw up $5, and if there's hundreds of comments, then that one will stick out. So it's kind of like cutting in line at Disney. You pay more, but you get to cut in line. But in terms of charging viewers to chat at all, I've not heard about that. From flipping sports cards or from grazing on things? Please be clear. Yeah, that's interesting. The Trump fortune started with them opening restaurants, bars, serving people, migrating. Well, you know, it kind of reminds me of like I have a friend who his parents travel around to the different rodeos and sell cowboy hats at like a ridiculous profit. And then when COVID hit, all of that went down, like all of that like shut down. So they actually ended up going to the different campaigns, like the Trump campaigns and the Biden campaigns and all the campaigns selling hats of that person. But they didn't really care what party you affiliated yourself with. They just wanted to sell their product. So it's kind of like, look, whatever you believe, but it's $29.95 for the hat. You know, that's fine. Which one do you want? So I think that's really smart. Soccer, yeah, guys, let us know in the comment section what you think of soccer. The soccer card market has gone down a lot, but we do know just the fundamentals, World Cup, and we have the biggest international sport out there. And I think by the time the World Cup hits or happens, I think it's November next year, I believe there's going to be a lot more channels to the European market for cards. There's going to be a lot more different, hopefully shows forming, hopefully like an international show, the way that we have a national here. I'm actually thinking what can be done so that Europe has an international. Like what if in Spain or Italy, there is an international for all the European countries and everywhere else to come just for this one giant show per year. But based on what soccer is globally and where the card market is and how early it is internationally in terms of expanding and getting product to Europe and Asia and grading to these countries, and just the hassle with customs and all this stuff, it's like, you know, it might be a year away before a lot of these platforms and a lot of these businesses can really cater to the European audience. So, I mean, soccer, I don't know much about the sport, but with low prices, I would definitely look into the Ronaldos and Messis, and I would think about the World Cup next year, but that's pretty far out. I just feel like there's a lot more upside. Here's the thing. I think a lot of people don't like the correction, but if the hobby never really had these super highs and super lows, then there wouldn't be really much opportunity to make money. And I think it does take risk, but I like it in a sense. For one, I think it's good that we see it, because I'm not the one that's buying in August of 2020 or buying in February. That's the time where everything's selling, and I don't feel comfortable buying because nothing seems cheap. Everything seems really expensive. But I like the fact that people flood in. They see a tweet from Gary Vee, they hear something on the news, something happens, and then they come in by the thousands, and then they chase something, because that's my customer. That's the person I want to sell to. So I'm willing to take the low lows, because they also bring the high highs. And if we didn't have that, then it would just be flat. Grazing cows somewhere here. He's somewhere. He's grazing in the comment section. Yeah, I mean, I see the questions here about the correction for sure. Nothing vintage. I was looking at it wouldn't be vintage, but John Elway's rookie card I've been looking at for a while. What is concha? Is that like a derogatory term for something else? Yeah, I don't know. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Oh, here's the thing. The mail day. I'm actually filming a mail day right after this. This is going to be my last mail day before I'm pretty much stocked up for football season. So I'm just doing big chunks, pretty much one at a time. I'll be capped at my budget because I've not sold many cards this month, because I don't have Devin Bookers or Kawhi Leonards or any of that. I don't have many of those cards. In fact, any of those. So most of my inventory is football, and I'm pretty much capped out after this last mail day. And then I really won't be buying anything until I move these cards, because as much as I'd like to buy a lot of cards out there based on the prices and what I feel long term, I still have got to stick to my budget. And when I sell, and either I sell for a profit, I sell at break even, or I'm willing to take a loss, which I'm really not, that's when I'll be able to move into something else. But the mail day is coming, and I did buy 8 rookie cards of one player that I expect to be back in the Super Bowl, but I'll leave it there. Zero college. Even when I see Tom Brady in the Michigan jersey, it means nothing to me, to be honest. So they're making a big deal, charging $1, and they're giving people credit and coupons. Well, oh, okay. Interesting. All right. I mean, I don't like CSG's labels so much. That's the comic book one, right? See, that looked to me like a medicine bottle. Like you'd open your bathroom cabinet, and there'd be like some prescription medication. It has that kind of label. I don't really like. Yeah, are they actually doing that, or is that just going off of what I said, where if they did it, it'd be huge? But if that's actually news, that'd be great. Oh yeah, Polanco. Polanco's like the Beverly Hills. Yeah, a lot of things here. Card shows in Canada, there's got to be card shows. I don't know of them exactly, but if you check out the show locator on Instagram, then I believe he'll be able to show you some, because he posts all the shows that he gets on Instagram for people around the country, and I think around all of North America as well. So check the show locator on Instagram. But it has to be. I mean, there's got to be card shows in Canada. Old wax football and baseball cards, are they worth keeping and sorting? I mean, depends what years, what cards. I think, yeah, you go through it and see what's in there. But that's why I used Comp C at the beginning of all this, because they just had, it was like a library of cards where I could just search a card and get a rough idea what it is worth based on what other sellers have theirs listed at, as well as what it has sold for in the past. But that was a very long, tedious process, going through 1992 Upper Deck, or 1989 this, 1994 whatever. I mean, I would say do it for the fun and be very careful. And if you see a star player and you look on the back and it doesn't have any stats from any year except for college or that 1 year, then maybe it's something. But you know, it's tough to tell. Do you think because the market as a whole being down, market as a SGC? I think it's a decent option. I just haven't had very good luck selling SGC cards. So it's hard for me to say, all right, well, now let me give them a chance. Yeah, I'll be at the National, mostly just making fun of Dustin and playing more pranks on him. But to me, it's events, it's meeting people, it's meeting vendors and companies. If you guys didn't see, I had a box break earlier in the week that was sponsored by Whatnot. They actually sponsored it and gave me a box of No Huddle Prism. And it was completely free to the people that signed up and that won. And there were a couple of good hits in there. There was a Jalen Hurts, like I think it's silver, but because it's a No Huddle box, it's a disco. So Jalen Hurts disco variation where it's like a black and white, and then a Tua number to 79. I think number to 79 blue rookie card in there. But I want to meet more vendors. I want to shake more hands, just meet people. Going for cards, I live in LA. There's like 3 card shows per weekend, so it's not really a big deal for me to do the transacting at the show, especially if I have football and I'm looking to move it around that time. Maybe I bring my cards to sell because the prices will be around the price point I want. But because it's such a big deal, and because I'm on the content side and I have other ideas as to what I want to do with the content and where I want to take this, it's really just meeting you guys and then meeting other vendors. Dustin will just be grazing. Yeah, well, here's the interesting thing about it is like the human behavior side is so fascinating because I just want to see what the masses do, right? So I think, well, let's see. There's a lot of people watching NBA basketball, like because that's, they're going outside, they're living life, they're going on vacations. But then if you're watching sports, there's baseball regular season, which is okay, but it's not really an important part of the year. And then you have NBA playoffs, which is stealing most of the attention. Right after that, we do have Olympics, though. That's coming up soon. And so then there's baseball. And I'm just wondering, like, all right, well, if you have money, if you care, if all you see is right in front of you and you're not taking this 3-month, 6-month, 1 year, 3-year type of perspective, and you're only looking at what's next week, well, then like it's easy to just lay out the breadcrumbs and be like, all right, well, you're going to go here, you're going to go here, and then eventually you're going to be buying this or you're going to be doing this. And I think that's why, as low as the card market is now for basketball, it only makes sense. So that means that if, when the sun goes down earlier and weather cools down and the big time travel ends and watching TV and all of these vacations and reunions and weddings and cruises and whatever else is out of our system, like what we do every summer, when that ends and we get back into, all right, hunker down, school starts, we're getting busy at work, but sports are coming back on, sun is setting at 6 p.m., all that kind of stuff. I think that's where it's more natural to watch more TV, stay in, and then focus more on cards and just other stuff that's less experience-based and a bit more tangible. So like that's just making sense to me. Like right now, it's Saturday morning. It's beautiful. I want to go on a hike after this. I will be going on a hike after this. So that's why I'm like, it should be slow. All right, let's see what's up here. All right, I got another about 10 minutes or so, and then I'll hop off. Yeah, I appreciate you, 40-something. I'm really upset that I had all these charts pulled up of cards, and I didn't have a chance to show it to you because my internet screwed up. And that was going to be the biggest thing I was going to show you guys was like, look at all these cards that are now not going down. They've plateaued. They might even be going back up. There was Let's see if I can remember some of them. I think there was a Ken Griffey rookie card, not the super popular one, but there's Ken Griffey. Oh, Mike Trout. Mike Trout's 2011 Topps. Maybe I could bring that one up. But that was one card that I noticed that it looked like a pretty good time to go in, to be honest. Let me see here. Mike Trout, 2011. I'll bring this one card up because I remembered it. And it was in a PSA 9 and a BGS 9.5. You hear how dry my voice is? Jeez. Okay, so check this out. Look at that. Have a Brad-ass day if you didn't see that earlier. So this is one card where I go, all right, hold on a second. It is Mike Trout. I know he had an injury earlier this year, but in a PSA 9, this is now at 1285. What I like to do is I ignore where it was at the high, and I look at it, all right, well, during the bubble before, in the September bubble, it had hit, let's see, 1,600, 1,500. Okay, but even before that, 1,200. All right, let's see. When was it 1,200 last? May. So May of last year, it hit 1,200, which is pretty close to where we're at. And then I kind of do my calculations of, all right, am I good with this being at the same price as where it was a year ago, like over a year ago, based on how much money and interest I think was in the hobby back then? Because, you know, you go back here all the way to the beginning, and this card was $487. But it's not like Mike Trout was way better. He's way better now. It's just pretty much we didn't have the competition and the people interested. So I'm like, all right, well, if this is at 1285 and based on the amount of money that's in there, what is Mike Trout's legacy? Will he win? Will he come back? Do I feel good? All these kind of things. And I feel good saying that at 1285, I don't think there's going to be less money in the hobby going forward than what there was in May 2020. Like, I think the big surge came in September and then it leveled off, and then the massive surge came in February. But as like a benchmark, I'm good with saying, all right, if May and June and August 2020 was the amount of overall interest and money in the hobby, and that's what it's going to be, where were the prices then? And then I feel good about paying like $1,200 or something, you know. So just wanted to share that with you. The show locator. Check the show locator. There's a lot. I don't know about Central California, but here in Southern California, there's a ton. I do not. I would love one, though. Oh, there it is. Down to help with the pranks if needed. Okay, well, see, I need to think things out a bit more, but you know, honestly, it was just a good time, man. And just meeting Dustin and meeting Flipping Steve, and that was the second time I'd met Boris, the Hobby Box, and I met a lot of you guys. Brian, pre-vintage basketball, 2004, and people, so many people. Al Lanistis came up to me, dude. Like, I can't do that. I can buy cards here in California. I could buy online. I could do all that. When I'm at the shows, I can't replicate face-to-face interactions elsewhere. So that's where that becomes the priority, like, period. And it does take a lot of energy out of me because I'm actually an introverted person, but I will do as much of that as I can. I would have to look that up. Keeping, yeah, to me, I'm like, the first thing I think of is look at the charts and let's do it. I don't know what Mike Trout's season is going to look like. I know he got injured, but good question for others out there to answer. All right. Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's Mike Trout, so it's not like, I mean, even me, who doesn't watch baseball, I know, okay, Mike Trout, great hitter, Should be very safe in terms of personality, and not someone that I'd worry about off the field or off the diamond getting in trouble. And so if it doesn't pan out in 6 months or a year, then maybe in 2 years, maybe in 3 years, maybe in 4 years. I always try to do long-term and short-term. Short-term upside, long-term insurance policy. And long-term could just mean if it's not in the next 6 months, then maybe it's in the next 2 years. Like gets traded, a new coach comes in, a star complimentary player, something off the court, like a movie or documentary, something like that. All right, guys, I'm going to head off now. I appreciate you joining me on this Saturday morning. I wish I could have showed you more cards, but my internet really screwed up. So sorry about that. I'm pretty sure it's Dustin's fault, so I'll blame him. Got a new Hinge notification right now, so I got to tend to that. That app has been very good to me. So have a great weekend, y'all. I'll see you next time. And smash the likes. Thank you, Trevor. Appreciate it, man.